Let's go ahead and get started. Good morning once again. My name is Alpha Jennings. I am the Director of Donor Engagement here with United Way. And I am so excited about this year's campaign. We have an amazing theme, and that theme is Better Together. And that is truly how United Way gets to do what we do. It's everyone working together, everyone doing what they can, and making an amazing difference in our community. Um, just a couple of housekeeping things. You are able to ask questions throughout the training. If you have a question, please raise your hand, and we'll make sure that we take you off of mute and you can ask that question. Or if you're more comfortable, you can type it in the chat and we can make sure that we answer it that way through the chat. The next thing is this training will be recorded. So if you miss anything or if you want to go back and listen to it again, we will make sure that is available to you. So let's go ahead and get started this morning. United Way, we like to say that our superpower is kind of amazing. And that superpower is our ability to bring people together. One of the ways you make changes and you affect your community is by having really good relationships with individuals. And when we talk about our relationships, we're talking about our relationships with local businesses, with our school districts, with volunteers, so many different people. And with that, we're able to bring different groups together and bring them to the table, see what the root problems of our community are, and then come up with solutions. When I was growing up, my mother used to always tell me, don't bring me an issue if you don't have a solution. And I'm so excited to be working in an organization that stands by that. We don't just want to look at the issues. We want to be able to look at the root issues and then say, okay, here's what we can do about it. But the work here at United Way is just a little bit different. Here, actually, with United Way at our office, we don't offer any services. We get to offer those services through our 23 partner agencies. But what we do get to do is we don't just focus on one single issue. We get to look at a broad spectrum and then hone in really on what we believe we can change and how we can make a difference. The knowledge of the community. Most of the people who have been here, we're a part of this community. We live in this community. We have relationships with people in the community. And so we really know who Lubbock is and the direction we would really like to go. We have a deep connection with the community. We have been operating for over 77 years to the nonprofit, public, and private sectors. We have the ability to mobilize everyone in the community. Like I said, we get to come and focus in and see what the issues are. But at the same time, we get to mobilize. So we get to put some action behind that. The next thing is we get to advance equity by leveraging our position in the community. And so that's really exciting to know who we are in the community and know that because of those relationships, we're able to mobilize and get some things happen. At United Way, if you have been a coordinator before, or if you have been around United Way, for several years, we had 3 initiatives, or 3 core basics. But this past year, we went through a strategic planning, and we're like, okay, who are we? What do we really want to do? How can we affect our community? What are those issues, and how can we boil those down, and what can we do within those? Through that process of strategic planning, what we found is we found 4 areas that we really wanted to work in, and we call those our strategic initiatives. The first one is economic mobility. And within that, we want to create opportunities to move households toward financial stability. The next thing is education. Education has always been a part of who United Way is. And within that education, we want to make sure that we increase the access to educational programs and materials to promote literacy and educational attainment for all people of all ages. Within that, we're looking at, are children ready to, are they school ready by the age of 3? Are they ready to go into those pre-K classrooms and sit and have circle time and learn to read and start those building blocks? We're looking at our 3rd graders. Are they able to read on a 3rd grade level by the end of their 3rd grade year? Because what happens is education takes a turn during that 3rd grade year. You spend from pre-K pre-K up to third grade, learning how to read. At that moment in your education, there's a switch. Instead of learning how to read, you start reading to learn. So once when you were in first and second grade, you see 1 + 1 is 2. When you start getting into third grade, you're going to have that 1 + 1. Yes, it is 2, but it's going to be written out in word form. So if a child if a child is unable to read, to comprehend and get a really good understanding, what happens is they begin to fall behind. And that's really what we want to work with. On top of that, it's not just for the children to be reading and improving in the educational setting. We're also looking at adults. We want people of all ages to attain their educational goals and what they would like to achieve in life. The next thing is confronting violence. And we do this through supporting local prevention efforts and access to services for victims of child abuse and neglect and sex trafficking and family violence. And the last one that we look at is mental health. And that is to advocate for local access to quality mental health services and supports. On all of these 4 initiatives, what we really get to do is we look at our 23 partner agencies. And within our 23 partner agencies, every agency focuses in on one of our initiatives. And that's really what we're striving for. If we can go to the next slide. And looking at that, I mentioned that we have 23 partner agencies. You have the opportunity to look at your screen. And a 23 is not a magical number. We may not always have 23 partner agencies, but today we do. And we're very excited about the work that all of our 23 partner agencies are doing. Like I said, each one of them support an important initiative that we stand behind as a community that we know will help to improve our community. We can go to the next slide. The next thing that we stand by is our financial status and where we stand. We have a very strong financial position, and that is very important to us. And the importance of that is we don't want to be here today, and because of the lack of our strong financial position, we're not here tomorrow. We want to be here for the long run. And I think we have done that a very good job at that over the last 77 years. And I look forward to so many more to come. The next thing is transparency and accountability. When we look at transparency and accountability, you can go to our website. You can look at our financial statements, and we hold ourselves, and we would like for you all to hold us accountable to that. One of the things and in the nonprofit world, as you ask for people to support, one of the major portions of that is transparency and accountability. People want to know where their money is going, and they want to know that it's being effective. And we want to make sure that we can assure you of that. You can go to the next slide, please. We're going to spend a little bit more time when we talk about economic mobility and what that means for United Way. I would like to ask all of you if you've ever met a person named Alice. That's kind of a generic name. We may have all been introduced to Alice, but there's something that I can promise you. I promise you that you have met Alice. Alice stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, Employed. When we say that, what that really means is you have working adults, they're working full time, they are doing all that they can, but they're limited with their assets. They're constrained with how much they can make. However, they are still employed. And within that employment, they are unable to meet all of their financial needs from a budget standpoint. When we look at Lubbock, Lubbock is an amazing community. We have a lot of amazing things going on. But even when we look at that, we have about 44% of all the individuals who live in Lubbock who are considered Alice. That means they are within Alice or below. To kind of put that number into perspective, for a single adult with no children, and they're only taking care of themselves in Lubbock, they must make at least $14 an hour. Now, when we look at that, that means it may sound like, oh, okay, they can do that. But when we look at some of those limits, when we look at some of those reasons why they are unable to attain that amount, that's what United Way really wants to look at. To look at that a little bit deeper, when we talk about a family of four, both adults are working. They have two children, one child in school, one child in daycare. That couple has to make over $30 an hour. And so when you look at those numbers and we look at who Alice is, what we learn is there are a lot of people who are living within Alice. We would like to say here at United Way, there is no way possible, and we don't even feel it's our role to go into companies and say, you have to pay your employees more. That's not what we're saying. Would making more make a difference? Yes. But is that the only solution? No, not at all. What we really want to do is show you how we are able to empower those who are in Alice to increase what they're able to live with, increase their how much they're able to make. We want to show them how they can use some of our services within early learning, our early learning childhood centers, where they can have childcare on a sliding scale. And it's not just basic childcare. It's early childhood education, so we can get those building blocks so those children are ready to go into grade school. They're ready for pre-K. They're on the right track for learning. And we want to increase those abilities so we can change the trajectory for generations to come. We don't just want to look at it from a right now, today. We're looking at it for today and tomorrow for generations to come. And so I'm going to invite you to play a little game with me. And this is it's a simulation, and it's really talking about, and so you have an idea of who Alice is and what it looks like to live within Alice. Let me share my screen. And so within this, as we go through this process, we're going to talk about a little bit of information, and then I'm going to need you to select an option that is going to be on your screen. And so when we take this challenge, what we're looking at is, as a family, it's a family of four. The husband and wife, they're both working. We have two small children. One's an infant and one's a preschooler. Right now, your monthly earnings are $2,000 a month. But one of the parents lost their job. And so now we have to make some really hard decisions. So let's get started. You lost your job, but you put some applications in. And when you put those applications in, one of the offerings or the job applications you put in was for an office clerk. Great job, $15.11 an hour. It's part-time, you're working 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., 4 days a week. Or you are a personal care aide, $8.91 an hour. Second shift, 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. Days per, several days a week, but the days per week vary, and that will increase your income by $357 a month. Or you can do retail. Retail, you'll come in making $10.77 an hour. You work Wednesday through Sunday from 8 a.m. to 4. What I need you all to do, you are going to get a notification on your screen. And if you can select what job you would like, please. Okay, we had 79% of you all who chose office clerk. Now that sounds great because that was the highest wage earning, right? So let's go ahead and click it, but you work less hours. When we select this job, what we have to look at is 62% of the jobs pay less than $20 per an hour right now, with 2/3 of those paying between $10 and $15 an hour. When we look at that, what we have to figure out is, okay, we have one child who is in school. We have one child who is in daycare. They get out at a specific time. And so am I going to be off when my child is off? What am I going to do about daycare? Am I going to be able to afford daycare once I take this position? It's a really hard choice, but what we decided to do today was to become an office clerk. The next thing I want you to choose, you are going to choose, where do you want to live? We have three options again. You can live in a 2-bedroom unit in a large complex, which is $900 a month. We can do an apartment rental, which is going to be a 2-bedroom unit in an old house. So you are sharing living quarters with others in one house, and you are just renting out 2 bedrooms, which is $750. Or if you can be a single family homeowner for $1,100 an hour. If you all can click on the screen again, and let's make your choice. Alrighty, 45% of us chose that we are going to do the apartment rental one. So we're going to do $900. When we look at that, Alice households often are forced to spend more than 30% of their income on rent and mortgage and utility costs. This requires them to make tough choices on how often for basic necessities such as food and healthcare. So when we look at that, and we look at food and we look at healthcare, one of the things that we look at is, which one of our agencies are serving these needs? What are we doing? How can we do this? Lubbock Children's Health Clinic is one of our 23 partner agencies, and that is one of our solutions to Alice. And the idea and the basis for a Lubbock Children's Health Clinic is not just when your child needs shots or when they need a wellness check that they go. It is the idea and it is the hope that our families will be able to find a medical home. So anytime that child has a medical need, they have somewhere that they're going to go. When they walk in that door, the nurses, the doctors, the office staff, they know who they are. And it takes just a little bit of the fear away about going to the doctor. Okay, so we said we had to decide about housing. We had to look at what we were going to do as far as a job. So now let's look at childcare. We have some options. Licensed home-based childcare. Your children are cared for by a licensed individual with other children. You can do family, friends, or neighbors. Your children are watched in your home or theirs, requiring you to cover basic expenses. Or you can do an accredited center-based childcare. Your children are cared for in a high-quality center with social development and structured early learning curriculum. When the option pops up, I need you to make your choice. If you choose your family and friends, that's going to be $550 a month. If you choose the accredited center-based childcare, $1,350, and license-based home care is $995. Let's make a choice. So we have a resounding family, friends, and neighbors. That is who is going to take care of our children. Now, there is absolutely nothing wrong with doing childcare in this manner. Many people, that's what they choose, and that's what they enjoy doing, because they have that ability. For a lot of people, this is a hard choice. When we look at why this may be a hard choice is, when you look at what happens for a child when they go into a child care facility, they are learning social skills. They are learning those basic education. They're learning ABCs. They're learning how to count. They're learning how to interact with other children. But within that, it's still a very hard choice for us to make. So we have child care accounts for nearly 23% of the household survival budget and is often the single largest expense for ALICE families. While there are subsidies for working families, some ALICE households exceed the eligibility threshold. What that means is they make enough to not qualify for assistance, but they don't make enough to pay the full cost. And so because of that, they have to make some hard decisions. When we look at the cost of childcare can be more than rent. When you look at it for over a period of time, childcare and a college education costs the same. That's a little bit alarming. And so if you have a child and your goal is you're going to pay for childcare for them, and your goal is I'm going to put my child through college, by the time you have paid for childcare and college, you have paid for college twice. That's a big expense, and that's hard. Our answer to that, though, is we have early childhood education, or we have early childhood learning centers. They are a sliding fee based early childhood opportunity. They prepare them for school. They teach them how to read. They teach them how to count. They teach them how to socialize with other kids. They put them in a setting that where they are ready to grow. They are ready to learn. Now, when we look at when that starts, you are able to take them 6 to 8 weeks after birth. What that also means, this child gets to create an environment where they are used to it. The teachers walk in and they know who they are. They've known this child since they were little. They know their behavior. They know them. And so it becomes a comfort. And it's not a comfort just for the child. It is a comfort for the parent. I know as a parent, that was one of my biggest fears. I am supposed to be going to work for 8 hours a day and leaving my child in the care of someone else. Are they going to be okay? With the program that we support there, we can tell you and we can guarantee they are going to be okay. And that's exciting. The next thing we're going to do, we're going to look at transportation. But as we look at transportation, we want to talk a little bit about Lubbock, Texas. Does Lubbock, Texas have public transportation? The answer to that is yes. Can there be some barriers within that? The answer to that is also yes. So we'll make the decision. Are we going to ride the bus? Each one of us are going to have a bus pass and it's going to be $155 a month. Or are we going to have a car and it's going to be $657? Let's make a choice. Okay. Oh, it's going back and forth. It's almost even, but the majority is you're going to have a car. And so let's choose car. The reason why we talk about that is, like I said, in Lubbock, Texas, do we have public transportation? The answer is yes. The barriers within that is all of the bus stops don't go where all of the employers are. As an individual, I may not live in a neighborhood where the bus is an option. And so a lot of times living in this area, a car is our option, or multiple ways of getting to work is our option. But today we chose a car. And most Texas counties, there is no public transportation. Like I said, here in Lubbock, we're doing well because we do. But within that, workers, which make it essential for most households to own a car. Without one, it's difficult to get to work, shop for food, or transport kids to childcare, school, and other activities. It's a hard decision. The next thing, we've talked about all of this and we have not ate a meal yet. So what are we going to do? When we look at food, we have some choices here. We can either do a mix, which is going to be a combination of fresh and frozen vegetable options with a mix of name brands and some bargain brands. We're going to do low cost, which is limited amount of healthy options with lots of frozen and processed foods and bargain brands. Or we're going to do fresh. And as soon as it pops up on your screen, if you all can make a choice for me. Okay. It's even. We have 48% that want that are going to do low cost, and 48% who want to do a mix. Realistically speaking, a lot of people are going to do a mix. So let's choose it. Guess what? The challenge is over. You do not have food for the month. You are over your budget by a lot. But this is the reality of so many individuals living here in Lubbock, Texas. Like I said, as United Way, can we go into all employers and say, you must pay everyone more because their budget has to get fixed? No. And that is not what we're saying we can do. What we're saying we can do is we can look at that budget. We can look at the needs. We can offer childcare through Y Care. We can offer support in the school system through communities and schools. We can offer health care for the children through our children's health clinic. We have partners who are looking at every aspect of the budget, and they're raising their hands and saying, I can do that. I can do that. Here's what I can do. And through them doing that, you're adding every time they get to choose one of our partner agencies, and our partner agencies are able to help. They're able to add more money back to their budget and shift where that money goes. One of the programs that we are so excited about, and I love talking about, even in talking about Alice, is the PEP program through Catholic Family Services. They assist with education. So if I, as a parent, say, what I want to do is I want to make more money. I know that is a necessity for my family, but I have to do it. The PEP program steps in and says, here I am. Let me help. Let me help you with your education. Let me help you with that cost. When that parent decides they're going to get that education, we have Y Care saying, hey, while you're in class a little bit later during the day, let us take care of your child because we're here at Y Care. We have these programs and everyone is stepping in. So the next question is, okay, so where do you fit in that process? Where you fit in that process is you are the coordinator for your company. You are that mouthpiece for United Way saying, here is what they do. They are doing good work. Can you come along with us, partner with United Way so we can help families within Lubbock? And when we offer that help, the benefit is not just for those families. The benefit is for our community. As individuals in our community continue to do better, that means our community does better. As our community does better, each one of us get to do better. And so we become healthier. We become thriving community. When you're a thriving community, that means you get to grow. You get to see success. You get to see things change. And that's what we're looking forward to do here at United Way. Will, if you can go back to the presentation for us. And go to that next slide. So the question is, okay, that was a lot of great information, but how do I do it? If we can go to the next one. What you get to do is you get to be the person to make the ask. In making that ask, we have several different resources, which Lindsay will talk about in just a little bit. You get to ask your audience to consider. And lastly, but I think at times this is one of the most important things. If in our statistics that we talked about earlier, we said 44% of the individuals who live in Lubbock are in Alice or below, that means they can't afford to thrive in Lubbock. So what that means is you are also that person who gets to connect other people to services. And so in your role, you get to do two things. You get to help raise money to help people, but you also get to help people by connecting them to the services that they may need in their own life. If you can go to the next slide, please. The next thing, what are your responsibilities? So as your company's coordinator, you get to set a goal. You can look at what you all did last year. You can set a goal saying, okay, this year, this is how much we want to raise. This is how many people we want to help. You get to set goals. You get to set a campaign timeline. A campaign timeline is so important. I will be the first one to tell you, your company is not going to be smiling at you if you run a campaign for a really long period of time. They're going to start looking at you like, why are you asking me again? And so set that campaign timeline so people have a start and a finish. The next is hold employee meetings. And when we talk about holding an employee meeting, we're not talking about set a 30-minute meeting where everyone has to come to. That's not what we're saying. We're saying, look at your calendar. What kind of meetings does your company already have? Is there a staff meeting? Is there a luncheon? Is there something within the next couple of months or that time frame that you set your campaign timeline that you say, hey, as you can ask the supervisor, you can ask leadership, can I have about 5 to 10 minutes to talk about United Way? And when you do that, what happens is you haven't added an extra meeting and you utilize the time that was there. So you hold those employee meetings. The next thing is you promote payroll deduction as an option. As a coordinator, payroll deduction is going to be your easiest way for people to donate. Once they fill out their form, then that form is turned into HR and your job as the coordinator is done. And so promote payroll deduction. That is not the only way they can give, but it is one of the easiest ways they can give. They can also give through one-time donations, which we'll look at in just a second. The next thing, utilize volunteers, utilize United Way staff, and utilize the resources. Don't ever think that you're doing this alone. Know that we're doing this with you. If we can go to the next slide. So here's just a sample agenda. You'll welcome your fellow staff members to the meeting. You'll do a United Way campaign 101. So a brief talk about the initiatives. It doesn't have to be really in-depth. Just know, if you want more information, we always have it available. You can show the United Way video. And the next thing is bring in a speaker. When you bring in a United Way speaker, the speakers are trained. And what happens is the speaker will come in, they will talk about who they are, what they do, and they will make the ask. Sometimes it's a lot easier to let a speaker come in and make the ask rather than you as a coordinator make that ask. And the last thing you do is wrap up the meeting. Like I said, this portion of the meeting should not take any more than 10 minutes. Next slide. So let's look at the forms. Our United Way form is relatively basic. And so they will circle Mr., Mrs., Miss. So they'll circle their title, first name, last name, employer name, and email address. When they sign up with their email address, we will send them a monthly newsletter just to keep in contact with them and let them know who we are. You will also do home address. Phone number, you can do home or mobile, whichever one they put. Just make sure they check the box. And then they will include their spouse, partner, and employer. We're not trying to get in anyone's business. What happens is if we know that you have 2 people from the household who are giving, we would like to correspond and address you all as a family and not as individual donors. And that's why that information is so important. If you have been a long time giver, but you happen to be in a new at a new place of employment, you can click that I have changed employer since the last time I gave. That way we'll make sure we move your account, but we keep up with how long you've been giving so we can acknowledge you as a regular contributor. You can also click if you are a loyal contributor, and that just means you've been giving for 10 years or more. Next slide. The next thing is they get to select how they want to make their gift. Now, when you look at this, it says, I want to give. You can do 200, 100, 50, 25, 10, 5, or they can select a different amount. Make sure it's understood that this says per pay period. And so you want to pay attention to that. If they select $200, we want to make sure they understand that that's $200 per a pay period. And so make sure that's understood as you go through that. Or you can do 1% of my annual salary or 1 hour per a month. You can really work with your HR department with that 1% of my salary or 1 hour per pay period a month. As the coordinator, you are not expected and you don't need to know how much that 1% of the annual salary or the 1 hour per pay per month is. HR will be able to help you in that. They can also choose to give by a bank draft. They can select how much they want to give monthly through a bank draft, and they will attach a voided check. They can choose if that's a continuous monthly draft, or they can choose if they wanted to do it one time. It's completely up to them. They can also give through credit, debit, or PayPal by going to the website that is listed. They can do text to give, or they can even scan the QR code and it will take them to the donor website. If they do any of these options and you're running a campaign, make sure you stay in contact with your LE. And here at United Way, we can make sure we get that information back to you. So as a company, you can keep up with all of your giving. The next, they can even choose, please bill me. You will select an amount. They will select if they want to do it once, monthly, or quarterly. And the United Way staff here will make sure we send them, we correspond with them to get that set up. Lastly, they can give a one-time check. One-time gift. I'm sorry. You will choose your amount. They will attach the cash or the check. Write the check number in there just in case for some reason the check gets separated from their pledge form. We can make sure that we get that connected back. The most important part of this whole form is going to be the signature. Let's say you select payroll deduction. If this is not signed, regardless of how they want to give, if it is not signed, the gift is not acknowledged. It has to be signed and dated. The next thing on here is you have the option. You can select, I prefer to remain anonymous. If that happens, if the donor selects that, their name will not be shared at any point. Their gift will remain anonymous. After they have selected how much they want to give, how often they want to give it. They'll multiply it out by how many pay periods there are within your company, and then you'll write your total gift right in that box. Next slide. You get to make a couple of choices. One of the things we get to do at United Way is you can select to give to the community fund. If you give to the community fund, your total donation will be broke down between the 23 partner agencies. Or if you have a couple agencies that you would prefer that you want to give directly to them, you can select that. If you can select 2 agencies that you would like to give to. If you use this option, there is a $50 gift minimum. So no, if they choose to give directly to a community partner, the gift has to be $50 or more. You may even have employees within your company who have recently moved here, or they have families in other states or cities that have a United Way. They can select to give to another United Way, and we will make sure that we get that donation sent to that particular United Way. Once again, that minimum is $50. If there's any special instructions, they will write it in that bottom line. We can go to the next slide. On the back of the form, I, as an employee of United Way, I do not expect you to remember and have all of this in your memory after today's training. So no, all the information that we have gone over today is on the back of the pledge form, and they can also go scan the QR code to learn more about who United Way is and what opportunities we have available. Next. The last thing you'll do after you run your meeting and you have collected all of your pledge forms, you will gather them together and you will fill out this report form. In this report form, the first section, you will write in your company name, address, city, state, and zip code. The next section is a company update. You will put in your total, in that first little box, you'll put in your total number of employees. The next thing you will do is you will select billing cycle. What that means is if you have several employees who did payroll deduction, as United Way, we will send reminders to the company for a total number. You can select, as a company, would you all like that reminder monthly or would you like it quarterly? The next thing is you will tell us when you would like that payroll start, when you want that payroll start date, that will be included in, and then the month of the first bill. The next thing you will put in there is your CEO name, HR contact and phone, and the billing address. The next section is where you total up all of the pledge forms. So if you know as a company you all are doing multiple events or multiple fundraisers or taking up multiple sets of forms, you can you can check either partial or final. What that lets HR know and your LE know is, okay, I'll make sure that I stay in contact with you because this is only partial, but you will be turning in another form. But you will total up how many gifts you have in payroll, how many gifts you have in direct bill, in bank drafts, fully paid, and then other, which is credit cards. You will total up your gifts as a whole. For those fully paid gifts, the amount you have on one-time gift needs to match what is stable to your report form. The next thing is if you have a special event, you will fill that out. On the other side under special event. You'll write what the event was and the amount that was raised. Next, you will sign it as the company coordinator, put the date, and then once your LE comes to pick it up, they will sign it as the United Way volunteer and date, and they will be responsible for bringing it back to the United Way office. Are there any questions at this time? All righty, if there is no questions, let's go to the next slide. Lindsay, can you help us with campaign resources, please?
Yes, so there are quite a few resources that we have for y'all just to try and make your campaign run as smoothly as possible. Can we go to the first slide? So probably one of the most helpful resources we had is our yearly campaign video. And this is just a really good kind of summary of the theme, also what United Way does, what our community partners do. And it's a really good way to personalize the campaign and kind of just educate the people that you're talking to. You know, some of the workplaces you might be going to might not know what United Way is, what our community partners do. So this is just a really good personal and fun way to kind of educate them and start your meeting off on a really good note. So we'll go ahead and watch the campaign video now so you guys can know what it's about. All right, we'll get the audio sorted out. 1 second.
Hey, Lindsay, I'm going to try one more time. If it's not working, I think we can just move on.
Yeah.
And I think having those resources
out?
And being able to reach out and have folks that respond to those specific needs makes a world of difference.
We finally were placed with Serenity when she was 4 years old. We found out pretty quick that she was gonna get to stay and be our forever baby. So I first heard about Early Learning Centers of Lubbock at my own office where they came to talk to us about the services that we offer. Because even though we are a United Way agency, there are so many agencies that support this community. We wanted to learn more about the ones maybe we didn't know as much about. And I was ready to sign up our foster babies to go there because it was just a world of difference compared to the daycare that we had been going to. The change in both children was amazing. They just really worked with us, and I just can't imagine what I would have done without them, without having somewhere safe and affordable to take our children. I think that before I started working for a United Way agency, I was under the impression that they helped people, just somebody else. Not me, not my friends, but they helped people. And then when I started actually using their services, I realized how many amazing organizations are helping people every day, including my family. So we've been really, really blessed as a family to have so many of our needs met and so much support from the United Way agencies. I get to see the inner workings of how we make referrals to the other partner agencies and how the families that we serve, we make referrals to family counseling services, or the kids in our program go to the Boys and Girls Club or the Guadalupe Parkway Centers, and how they're in Scouts. Or some of our families have used Legal Aid Society. Voice of Hope has come out and done trainings. Our volunteers work in these agencies make referrals to us, we make referrals to them.
At Lubbock Area United Way, we are better together. Make your gift today. Okay, so along with the video, Speakers Bureau is also a really great way to personalize your campaign and your workplace meetings. So there are 3 easy ways to schedule. You can contact your loaned executive and they can reach out to us. You can contact Will directly at his email address. That's the best way to contact him. Or you can go to our website and there is a request form there. That's probably the easiest way to schedule a speaker. And just know whenever you are scheduling or putting in a request for Speakers Bureau, the more details you can give Will, the better. Obviously, basic things like day and time of your meeting, the location, roughly how many people you're expecting. Some of the speakers that we have, are more comfortable with really large groups. Some of them prefer smaller groups. But just as much detail as you can give. You need to park here, the speaker should enter through a certain door, or even if they have a specific topic, maybe that the group is interested in, if there's a specific community partner they might want to hear about, let Will know and he can try and schedule that to be as specific as possible. Okay, the next tool that we have is our email series. So there are about 2 weeks worth of emails, so 10 business days, and they each highlight a different aspect of United Way. And we can personalize that with a logo for the company that you're wanting to send this to. And it has all kinds of information about us. So one, for example, is about United We Read. So maybe your company is also interested in volunteer opportunities. So we could send that email to them. All of the emails are listed on our website under campaign resources. So you can go and look at those, and maybe you don't want all 10 emails. Maybe you just, 2 or 3 really stuck out to you and you thought would be helpful. So you can tell us that also through that request form that's on the website. Then we will personalize it for you, and then your coordinator or your Ellie will have it to send out to the company. Next slide, please. Okay, and then finally, on our website, there are a handful of other resources. Like it's listed there, it's under our website at campaign resources. So we have our community partner guide. that is a list of each of our 23 community partners and the program that they have that United Way funds. It also has contact information for them. So that is a great resource to familiarize yourself with our partner agencies, especially if you're new to this, maybe you don't know all 23. Then we have a services guide. That is very helpful because it breaks down what each community partner offers based on need. So maybe you're talking to a group and someone says, I could really use a service based on after school care. So you can look at that service guide and it says, kids and then education. So after school care, that kind of thing. So it's just very specific. It's very, very helpful. Then we have our community status report. We put that out every year and it's an in-depth look at the issues in our area and also just how, it says what it is, the community status report. How are things going in Lubbock? And then that's also kind of what helps us look at our strategic initiatives. Should we kind of rework these or are we actually trying to fill the right gaps and what people actually need here? We have some sample communications. So again, maybe this is your first time and you're not really sure where to start. There are some good sample communications on there just to kind of get your brain working and with some good kind of verbiage about campaigns. There are fundraising ideas. Some workplaces decide that maybe they want to do a traditional workplace campaign, but maybe they also want to do some kind of drive where they collect school supplies or other supplies for a different community partner. So that is, more than welcome, and you're welcome to get as creative with that as you would like. There are also some social media assets and other graphics that tie back to this year's campaign of Better Together. So those are available to download on our website as well. Next slide, please. And that is all of the resources that we have for you guys. As always, though, like Alpha said, please reach out to your loaned executive or to any of the staff here. We're always happy to help or answer questions. And as you're looking at the resources, if there's something that you see or that you don't see that you think would be really helpful, please feel free to reach out to me and I will try to accommodate as I can. So are there any questions or anything else that you guys need? All righty. Well, or Lynn, is there anything else we need to cover? All righty. Well, I guess if that's it, thank you guys for your time. We really appreciate you being here and just hope for the best for everyone's workplace campaigns. So thank y'all so much.